on in, everyone, to VG Emporium, video game music, and more. And hey, if you were here last week, I hope you enjoyed meeting some of the employees I have working here. A pretty interesting batch of people, I gotta say, though a couple of them aren't people per se. I'm definitely sure that Momo Chuamba is some kind of space alien, and then Laurel Pietri, he's undead? I'm not really sure. Don't want to think about it right now. All I'm going to say is that eventually you'll meet more of the folks that I have working here at the VG Emporium, helping me kind of, curate all the different types of VGM that we carry here. And of course, one kind of VGM that we carry here in abundance, I make sure of that, are shop themes. Yes, indeed, more shop themes for you. So, and if you're paying attention, you'll notice that this is episode 102. And what was the first shop themes episode? Episode 2. Now, before you ask, this is not planned. I only just realized it just like a couple days before recording this, that's what's so here we are, more shop themes. So getting into what I just opened up with, this is Cheiji TV, Suspicious TV Shopping, from Ripened Tingles Balloon Trip of Love, composed by Masanori Adachi, Tomoko Sano, and Kiyoshi Hazemoto. Now this isn't a shop theme per se, but it does involve shopping. This is featured at the beginning of the game, where Tingle is just an unnamed 35-year-old man living alone, and he's watching TV, and all of a sudden this ad comes on for this book about a love adventure, and it is on sale originally for 4,800 rupees, but now it's on sale for only 2 rupees. So of course our guy calls the number and gets it right away. It just comes right to his door, and then once he looks into the book, I guess he gets whisked away to another land, and it basically is Wizard of Oz, except with Tingle. And make of that as you will. In this song here, it does its job. It gets your attention, it promises adventure, gives you this undeniable urge to just spend. And as predatory as they can be, infomercials can be considered shops. Just not very good ones. So now, who are these composers? Well, Masanori Adachi I actually talked about before because I featured a track from this game all the way back on Thanksgiving of last year. But just a quick recap, they got some cool titles under their belt. Some notable earlier titles such as Snatcher, Super Castlevania 4, Contra 3 The Alien Wars, Rocket Knight Adventures, and Moon Remix RPG Adventure. And then jumping ahead to their last project being Paper Mario Sticker Star. And then we move on to Tomoko Sano. Starting in 92, we got Vulcan Venture, and then Castlevania Rondo of Blood. Has written lyrics for many of the Tokimeki Memorial games. And then jumping ahead, we got Let's Pilates, 3 Degrees Celsius, We Play Motion, Dilling's Rolling Western, and then finally, Paper Mario Sticker Star. And then this brings us to Kiyoshi Hazemoto. They got started much later than the previous two, with Let's Pilates in 2008, Magician's Quest, Mysterious Times, Little King's Story, 3 Degrees Celsius, Dilling's Rolling Western, Paper Mario Sticker Star, and then going beyond that, we got Chibi Robo, Zaplash, Dillon's Dead Heat Breakers, Super Kirby Clash, and then finally in 2019, Kirby Fighters 2. So as you can tell, these three have worked on the same titles, and that's because they all worked for a company called Vanpool Incorporated, which is an independent software company which started in about 2002 and worked on a lot of Nintendo titles, and as of May of this year, they are considered defunct. Oi. Well, moving on, we're gonna get into our next track here. This is Shop, Where Am I? Arranged version from Le Tale Online, composed by Hyun Taekyeon. And that lovely little theme was Shop, Where Am I, arranged version, from Latale Online, composed by Hyun Taek. Now you may have noticed that this was called the arranged version. The original version, which is called Store, Where Am I, and of course the main difference being the instrumentation, where in place of the flute, it's using the accordion, and the bass is more of this kind of like soft, like warm, soft chords to bass, like think Labyrinth. But it's missing something that this version has. And there it is, the brass. The brass just sells this version for me so much. And I can totally imagine this playing in a supermarket. So all I gotta say is bravo to Hyun Taek for creating such a wonderful piece of shop music. So unfortunately, I really couldn't find much on Hyun, also going by DiNY and Ripened, excepting an interview that Original Sound version did with him back in 2008. And the interview is geared towards the release of Latale and his work on the soundtrack. But early in the interview, he gets asked, like, how he got started with music, and, in '94, he said he started working with the AdLib sound card, which I believe is the YMF262, which is the OPL3 FM sound chip, and if you don't know by now, the Koreans are just masters with that thing. And then sometime after that, he actually started using MIDI, and then would work on Kotori games, which I imagine are like Dojin or indie games. And then in 2006, would get started working on this soundtrack for Latale. And one of the other cool things I'll cite from the interview is that this song right here, Where Am I, at least probably the original version, I'm not sure about this arranged version, is one of his favorite songs that he did for this soundtrack. And he named it more for this stress feeling he had because he wasn't sure where he was with deadlines when he was making the song. So that's pretty neat. As far as other games he's worked on, I can't really find anything. Like, this interview is really the only thing I can find, and it's an archived version too, because the original interview on the site is just gone. So yeah, the only other thing I could find was Toho China, which was linked in that interview. And then the only other link that worked was for Success Corp, which is a company that makes a lot of games. So I'd imagine he did soundtracks for some of those games, but I couldn't find out which ones were. So yeah, that's where we're at. One thing I've just been able to glean from all of this is that he's gotten a lot of acclaim for this soundtrack. I've listened to some of it, and it's well-deserved. It's not really my cup of tea, but still, it's really good. So hey, if you're interested in reading that interview, I'll be linking it in the show notes. So now about this game, Latale Online. It's just another MMORPG from Korea. It's, think Maple Story, it's all 2D sprites, walking around and stuff, and it actually looked a lot like Gaia Online as far as how the avatars looked. Only less chipified? I think it's time to bring up the energy here a bit, so we're going to get into Shopping District from Hokkaido Rensa Satsujin, composed by Toshiyuki Ueno. Shopping District from Hokkaido Rensa Satsujin, composed by Toshiyuki Ueno. And as you can tell by this music, this is the Famicom version, which was released in 1987, with the original release being in 1984 on the PC-88. But now, getting back into this track here, it's really fun. Unfortunately, there isn't really any shopping that happens here. It's in the shopping district, I guess. It just shows a screen. It's nighttime, it looks like. There's a sign, there's kind of lights flashing and stuff. And then the next scene is where you go to an inn, I guess, to stay. But hey, this is still a shopping district with all kinds of shops. And I'd imagine if this is a different kind of game, you'd actually go into those shops and this music would just be playing all throughout. But unfortunately, this here is an adventure game and it has a set story, so you kind of go from scene to scene to scene. And the song, unfortunately, only plays at the beginning and not very long, because there's a few scenes, you go to an inn, you go to sleep, and then it just hits you with the title card of this game. So what exactly is this game? Well, it's the sequel to the Portopia serial murder case, which that tells you a lot, but you play as the same character from that game, and he's investigating this dead body that's found in the river. And this takes him to Hokkaido, where the majority of the adventure takes place. And the gameplay basically consists of, the main scenes, side panel for choices, and then text on the bottom. And the scenes, they look really nice. Famicom, especially in 1987, looks really good, actually. All the character portraits are pretty expressive. It's all flat colors, no shading going on, so not much detail, but still very appealing. Now, getting into our composer, Toshiyuki Ueno, he's got some pretty interesting things going on here. He got started in the editorial department with ASCII, and I actually wrote articles for Famitsu, but it wasn't until he played a little game by Namco called Libble Rabble, which got him interested in games. So he started learning how to program, and that got him in the job of actually programming this game for the PC 6001 and MSX, with the Famicom release in 1987 being his first composer credit. Then from there, we got Itadaki Street, Watashi no Oten no Yotete, Kero Kero Karopi no Daiboken, Monopoly for the Super Famicom, Mario's Picross on the Game Boy, contributed the song Your Name, Please to Earthbound, known as Mother 2 in Japan, Mario no Super Picross, Picross 2, Tamori Picross on the Satellaview, Mini 4-Wheel Drive GB, both Let's N Go and Let's N Go All-Star Battle Max, and then their final audio credit in 1999 with Picross NP Volume 1 on the Super Famicom. And then after this, he went on to be a writer, which some of this includes strategy guides he's done for Nintendo. Now, it's time for an oddball shop theme. We got At a Shop from Inindo Way of the Ninja, composed by Hiori Wakakuwa. And that was At a Shop from Inindo Way of the Ninja, composed by Hiori Wakakuwa, and this is the SharpX68K version. If you were to look this game up, most likely you'll get results for the SNES version, which is the one that was released here in the US. And it's a pretty nice shop theme, does its job, though I wish there was more to the second half right here. But I'm satisfied with what we got right here. And hey, it loops really nicely back to the beginning. It actually kind of makes me think of how I write stuff. I'll usually kind of just make a little rinky-dink thing, and I'll do this one cool part, and then it just goes right back to the rinky-dink. I, for some reason, have just a difficult time expanding upon the really cool part. But now this game here, Inindo Way of the Ninja, it is an RPG where you play as a ninja. And being made by Koei, it is set during the Warring States period of Japan, and your ultimate goal is to kill Nobunaga. Koei just seems to have a thing for this guy. And there's an interesting twist to this here game, is that there are feudal lords, which, if you help them by doing spying or assassinations, you'll gain their favor, and when they do large-scale battles and take on other provinces, it'll help you along your journey. But if the opposing lord wins the battle, well, then that'll hinder you. So a lot of strategy going on outside of random encounters. So now getting onto the fellow that made this delightful little tune, Hiori Wakakuwa, he only has 3 credits to his name. So we have Mahjong Takai, both the PC-98 and Famicom versions, all the different versions of Inindo Way of the Ninja, Genpai Kasan on the PC-98 with Yoko Kanno, and Super Mahjong Takai for the Super Famicom and PC Engine CD. And that's a nice segue into our next shop theme. This is Item Shop from, coincidentally, Super Mahjong. Totally unrelated, different company, and different composer, that being Nobuko aka Novko Hasebe. And that was Item Shop from Super Mahjong, composed by Nobuko, Novko, Hasebe, and most likely it's arranged by Kenichi Fuji. And I'll get into explaining that in a bit, but first, why is there an item shop in a Mahjong game, and why is the song for it so dang funky? Well, I have an answer for the item shop thing, and that's because there's an item mode in this game, where you go into the shop and buy items and use as power-ups against your opponents while playing Mahjong against them. What kind of power-ups you need in Mahjong? Your guess is as good as mine. Though if the opponents you face in item mode are the same that you face in World Unification mode, where you fight different world leaders in order to gain control of their countries and unify the world, which makes total sense, then maybe I could see why you need power-ups. That still doesn't answer the question as to why this song is so dang funky for an item shop in a Mahjong game. Well, that's where we look towards Nobuko Hasebe, who done compose this here song. Well, before getting into composing for VGM, she was part of a few bands, and one of the major ones she was part of was called the Modern Choki Chokis, starting in the year 1989, and she was a vocalist and keyboardist, and from what little I've seen of this band's music, it is a strange blend of jazz, funk, and children's songs? Yeah, I haven't listened to it enough to actually get a solid, read on it, but, she was involved in this band from 89 to 97. And in this time, she only did VGM from 1990 to 92, but she has a few titles under her belt, starting with Shogi Shodan Ichokusen on the PC Engine, then Famicom Shogi Ryousen, obviously on the Famicom, then Shogi no Hoshi on the Sega Mega Drive, then Famicom Nigo Nyumon, Shogi Shoshinsha Muyo, and then finally Super Shogi and Super Mahjong, both for the Super Famicom. So all of these within the span of 2 years. And, how is this? Well, when she was hired on by Home Data, which is the company that developed these games, her only contact was with Hiroshi Endo, who was the lead composer, though taking on more of a director role by this time for Home Data. And he would give her a list of songs to write, she wouldn't know anything about the game other than it being either a shogi or mahjong game, and would compose and sequence all the music on her Kawaii Q80. She would then send it in the form of sheet music to Home Data for their arrangers to then put it through whatever driver they need to for whatever console. In the case of this game, that being Kenichi Fuji. And he also started with Home Data in 1990 and was a core member of their sound team, E-Rhythm. And the titles he worked on, excluding the ones that he arranged for Nobuko, are Penguin Kun Wars, Mahjong Lemon Angel, Tetrastar the Fighter, 2069 AD, TNN Bass Tournament of Champions, Mahjong Sengoku Monogatari, Hankoku Mahjong Tetsuman 2, Shodan Kurai Nintai Shodan Pro Mahjong, Yake Yutaka G1 Memory, and then finally in 1997, Planet Joker on the Saturn. And hooey, that was more information than I was expecting. I'm looking all this up as I'm recording, so, it's time to cool our heads off a bit. And I just got the perfect thing for that. So we got Ashura-Kai, Authorized Shop, from Shin Megami Tensei 4, composed by Ryota Kazuka.
Yeah.
and that was Ashura-Kai Authorized Shop from Shin Megami Tensei 4, composed by Ryota Kazuka. And yes, this song is pretty damn chill, but the place it's associated with is quite troublesome. Because yes, it is an item shop, and many helpful things can be bought there. The organization that runs it, the Ashura-Kai, no good. Because even though they have learned how to coexist with demons, and it may seem like that might be a good option to stay alive, the way how they do it is, well, you know, they're basically turning humans into demon food. So that's how they're able to coexist with the demons, because they're providing them a steady chain of concentrated red pills that are made from the neurotransmitters of human brain matter. So, you know, good stuff. So yeah, good song, just wish it was in the context of someplace else. So now you may be saying to yourself, what? Demons? Yes, sir. In this particular SMT world, the city of Tokyo has been overrun by demons, and so I don't know the exacts of it, but somebody had fused with the demon lord that was causing the invasion and turned into a giant stone dome over Tokyo. So then, inside Tokyo, 20 years only passed, but outside of the dome, 1,000 years has passed, and there's an established kingdom on top of the dome called Mikado, where there is an order of samurai that are tasked with, slaying and or contracting demons as they appear in Mikado. And so through the events of one calling themselves the Black Samurai coming up to the surface of Mikado and turning people into demons, this group of samurai led by the main character Flynn go down into the dome and discover Tokyo, and the shenanigans begin. So now I haven't played this game, and actually the only game I've ever played in any of the Shin Megami series, like out of all the offshoots and all this stuff, was the original Shin Megami Tensei through a SNES emulator on an English patch, which I'm actually currently playing on the PS1 version through an English patch. Who knows, maybe one day I'll actually beat Shin Megami Tensei and finally let myself, play others throughout this crazy, wacky series. And once I do, I may be able to enjoy more Ryota Kazuka's music because, well, he's an SMT man through and through. He got to start in 2008 doing sound design for Persona 4, as well as for the PSP re-releases of Persona, Persona 2, and Persona 3. Did work on Trauma Team, and his first music and arrangement credit being Rolancer, Wayfarer of Time. Did the opening theme for SMT Devil Survivor, and sound design for Devil Survivor 2. Did work for Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Persona 5, Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, and then Persona 5 Royale. And then his latest credit being in 2021 for Shin Megami Tensei 5, unless you count the 2023 re-release of Persona 3 Portable. And that's all I got for you. Hope you enjoyed this round of shop themes. You can expect more of these episodes coming up. It's truly my bread and butter, and there should have been at least 10 of these episodes by now. I was just being a little too picky with what I wanted to play. So that's something to look forward to. So again, thank you for coming into VG Emporium, and if you're new to the shop, you can find VG Emporium on all your favorite podcatchers such as Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, as well as on TerraPlayer if you're interested in trying that. It is a hub for many kinds of video game podcasts. Though now that I'm getting over 100 episodes now, I'm not sure how the other podcatchers will work, like if they start cutting off earlier episodes or not. So if you want to, see some of these earlier episodes that may not be on some of these, services, you can go to the website vgemporium.wordpress.com. And then you can follow VG Emporium on all the social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And if you want to reach out with a comment or suggestions or even a special order, which is a song request, you can send it on over to vgemporium@gmail.com, or you can join the Discord, which is linked in the show notes. So now what I have coming up next week is a nice little celebration. If you remember last year, I did a thing called Mega Man 35th Anniversary Mega Mix, which if you haven't, was just basically a giant mix of music from all the different mainline Mega Man games, with me blabbing on a bit about each series. So what I got planned for next week is going to be called Other Mix, which is going to be focusing on spin-offs and other oddities in the Mega Man series. And I got some cool, interesting, weird music picked out for this one. So I hope that entices you to stop on back into VG Emporium.